Welcome back. Now, tomorrow marks International Literacy Day. Based on data released by UNESCO, literacy rates for adults and young people continues to rise. But despite these gains, millions of adults still cannot read or write. How concerning. Joining me as we discuss this important topic is Nontuli Moalusi from the Citizen Leader Lab. Good morning and welcome to eNCA. A very important conversation, and I love the theme for this year, promoting literacy in a digital age, because these days children don't read anymore. They're just playing games, right?
100%. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's really just about creating the culture of reading, just making sure that beyond just giving them tablets to play games, to, do what other activities, it's just about saying, how can we use this digital space to create and foster the reading culture? So that's really what it is about, and it's an important conversation, and that's why the International Literacy Day is there to, spotlight the awareness or create awareness around, the literacy issues globally, actually.
I started by focusing on kids now, but I'm realizing the reality is that grown-ups, we don't read anymore, right? We just watch streaming online. You sit and you watch series the whole day. Where are the days where people used to go to library? I was so small. My mother took me to a library every week. I had to go sit there, take my books, read and give feedback on what I've read. Even among adults, that culture is busy dwindling, is it?
It is 100%, but I think, there's a lot of components that feed into it, and children, like you said, if we leave out the children of now and we don't correct the behavior, it comes back when they're older as adults, right? So if you build the culture now of reading, learning, they're able to take those skills and take them to adulthood, because a reading child today is an engaged citizen tomorrow, an adult tomorrow that can engage in democracy, they can engage in certain things that, build our nation. So it's really important to start when they are younger. As adults, we just on Netflix, but we don't then critically engage, because it's more than just literacy. Because it opens and unlocks the part where you're actually able to critically engage. You are able to make decisions. You are able to problem solve. So it's just bigger than just reading. Yeah,
absolutely. And I like that connection you just made between literacy and nation building. Continue that train of thought of yours. How does literacy connect to leadership and nation building as well?
100%. So with literacy is that when we have engaged leaders, there's a phrase that I really like very much. It's leaders are readers. So if you read, you are able to engage critically. If you read, you are able to problem solve, like I said. And for that to happen, you become a leader. And leaders who are engaged, they actually can problem solve. Leaders who are engaged, they're able to identify issues within their communities, within their schools. So in a school context, when you have leaders who are empowered, teachers who are motivated, then they can also motivate their learners. And in that aspect is that those learners are then, not left behind. When you are young, you learn to read. And then when you get a bit older, you read to learn. So, and in that aspect is that once you read, you continuously read to learn, you build the confidence to engage in important matters. So in a nation building perspective is that the learners then, when they grow, they become an important part of citizen. Then they're able to engage in democracy, they're able to engage in the economy, they're able to engage. So, they don't then get left behind. It starts a bit early on. So those leaders who are engaged, those leaders who are active, are able to, build that trajectory.
Talk to me about the Leaders for Literacy program and how that is equipping school principals and management teams to help them to actively tackle literacy, because that speaks to what you just mentioned.
100%. Our Leaders for Literacy program is meant to empower principals, school principals, as well as school management teams, like you've mentioned. And what then happens happens is they come up with school improvement plans and projects that assist in deliberately addressing these literacy issues, right? And basically we've seen where school principals or teachers have, creating a space and a center for literacy and literacy excellent within their schools. So they've created reading corners, they engage outside of, their immediate environment with business, with governments to say, how can we bring in a library within the school? How can we even bring digital libraries in essence so that the learners aren't only just taking a book, but they're also able to go there and, search, read for, in the digital era, taking it back there. It's to say, not just a hard copy book, but you're also able to go to a digital library and, read through content.
I want to ask you this in closing. It's, of course, also Heritage Month. And when we talk about literacy, we have to tackle the issue of having books in our own African languages. How important is that? Are we making progress? What still needs to be done?
100%. I think we are making progress in terms of that multilingual learning, but also taking it to, learning in our mother tongues. There's significant studies that have been, published and researched to say that learners actually, when they're younger, if we neglect to embed the mother language with them, then they're not able to transition easily into English. So it's like only English, and then they're not able to think, process in their mother tongue. So it becomes difficult to then articulate themselves because they're still learning the English language. So you have to embed the language a little bit early and then transition them into a second language, a third language, because they're capable of learning multi-languages. But you need to embed the mother language. And there's studies on it that can, be referenced to say we are actually making progress, and it is a continuous exercise, and I think we will get there. I mean, there's schools already that are introducing that concept, so we are going somewhere.
You know what I would like to know, and I'd like to have a conversation with authors out there, is whether we are seeing an interest in vernacular books. Like, are people buying your books? We leave it there for the moment. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate your time. That was Nontuli Moalusi from Citizen Leader Lab. Well, that brings us to the close of today's edition of the South African Morning. But stay tuned, because after the break, I'll be joined by editors of the Sunday Times to take you through the biggest stories in this week's edition of The Brief. Don't go anywhere.